All right, Dirty Sports episode 712. We are live on YouTube in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Los Angeles, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
And next to you, above you, depending on whose screen, whatever it is, we have from Santa Monica, California, the one and only Tug Coker.
Hello, Andy. Hello, Joe.
I've lost my ability to do an intro, Tug, because I basically just do an impression of you doing an impression of me now. I don't even know how I originally sounded. I'm going to have to go back and relearn how to say hello, Andy, without saying hello.
500 episodes ago. You have to go
hello, Andy.
Can a listener, can a fan go back and listen from the beginning somewhere?
No.
No.
iTunes only does a certain number of episodes back, and then we have removed some older ones so that we can put out a limited edition gold-plated box set one day.
You mean NFT?
Yeah, exactly.
A non-fungible token of Dirty Sports. It's probably worth over $100,000 right now.
I think that's a safe estimate.
Well, it's been there's stuff that has been privatized, but that actually brings me to this. I don't know if any dirtball out there listening, if there's by any chance at all, remembers the episode that I played where my dad picked up the answering machine, where my mom was calling him from Kroger's and he couldn't find the phone in the house. And my mom was on the answer machine like, oh God, Walton. He's like, I can't hear you. What? I can't find the phone. But then she's leaving the message. It was such a funny miscommunication. And if anybody knows, I know I played it on the show. I got to find it. But if anybody has any clue what episode that was, that would mean a lot to me and my brothers, because it would give us a lot of laughs to hear that exchange. I know it was somewhere.
It's amazing because, like, if you go there's shows, Big Brother, for example. There's an episode in Big Brother where they basically ask the contestants to remember on what days the event happened, and that'd be kind of an amazing trivia for some dirtballs out there. He's like, I sure remember that. That was episode 146.
This seems like the Stenga signal has been put out.
Well,
the dirtball Olympics, and
Stenga sits in the leather chair and he just closes his eyes and his eyes roll back in his head. He's like,
he's like Bran from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly. He goes full Bran, and then he's like, he comes out of it. He's like, it's episode 614.
Well, I already asked him.
I've seen it.
I asked him because Joe, you know, everything blurs together for you and I. I did ask him. I said, did I play this on the show? And he goes, 100% you did. He goes, I have no clue though. So it was played on the show. Sometimes I lose track of what.
So no pressure, dirtballs, but Andy's just trying to hear the voice of his since passed father one last time. So if you guys could find that'd be great.
And mother.
Mother.
So if you guys could just find the
you guys could just find it's not life or death, but it is life or death. That'd be great.
Yeah, not life or death.
Just a man trying to hear his parents' voices one last time. But no pressure. Whenever you guys get around to it.
I needed that, Joe. You know what, real quick on a serious note, comedy is what is getting me through all this shit, because it is rough at times. I'll be honest with the dirtballs. And I told Tug this, like, it can be really tough not having my parents around, but that's the one silver line through everything is jokes, especially about my parents or through my brothers. And this would give me a lot of pleasure, laugh at that. So yeah, like Joe said,
that's helpful to you. Well, in that case, let me read from my book of Walt roasts.
Now, Tug, I think before we jump into March Madness, since you are the Jay Billis of the Dirty Sports Network, we need a Tug Coker update. You're on the move. There's a lot of things happening in the Coker family.
Yeah, you both know. I mean, as Joe may have alluded to on the show, played golf with Joe last week, had a great time. Actually went out to an outdoor patio and grabbed a beverage, which felt like a little bit of normalcy, which was really fun. And as a person who's about to have a third baby enter the world here in 5 weeks or so, I desperately needed that. So yeah, my next 5 weeks are crazy. We got moving. I'm moving from Santa Monica to one town over to Culver City. That's happening at the end of the month, and then we just get a little more space. I've been in my apartment basically since I moved to LA 14 years ago, and it's funny to see. I was thinking about this. It's funny to see like your apartment change from like having a roommate, your roommate smoking cigarettes with a girl in the room next door. That room becomes my two kids' rooms. Just the evolution of the apartment. Subletting it to move to New York, coming back. It's kind of crazy to see like how, this is probably where I've lived longer than my own house where I grew up in Virginia. So my wife could not be more excited, and she would move out yesterday if she could. Me, I'm just like sort of nostalgic. I'm like, don't really want to leave this place. Like my life's going to change. I got to be like a full-time dad. So that's happening. New baby's happening. And then obviously in the entertainment world, working on a couple projects that hopefully will be fleshed out over the course of the year. But needless to say, I'm busy.
It sounds like madness.
It really, it's March, true March Madness. Forget about the basketball that we know nothing about. This is the real March Madness. But I already want to set up before. I want to tease it out, Andy. Joe Prano texted me the other day about golf, saying he's reluctantly like watching a little more golf. I want to do a Dirty Sports Masters preview. You don't have to be on it. I want it to be Joe and me, and we'll get maybe some other guest. Can we just throw that on for the 8 to 10 to 20 dirtballs out there that love golf?
When's the Masters?
It's always the week after the Final Four.
Okay, it's exciting.
So I feel like didn't they just play the Masters?
Well, they did because of the pandemic sort of pushed it to the end of the year. So they're basically doing 2 in 5 months. It's unheard of. So
and who won? Dustin Johnson?
Correct.
Hey, look, Tug. I'm just saying.
You're back in. You're in the pod now.
You're back.
You're in the Masters pod.
I did get a text from my buddy Chad Cutter. He golfed the Grizzly that's the Kings Island golf course, which Jack Nicklaus designed. And it's been there for years. So he said they don't know how much longer it's going to be there, but he sent me that. He sent me a video and I said, I'm going to have to get the links, but it's pouring down rain here. You guys have the luxury of that immaculate weather all the time.
Yeah, you left us.
I left you guys?
Yeah, you left us for the rain. So
yeah, I did. Well, when you were talking about your apartment, it did remind me how long I stayed in the Smut Studio, and I'm looking at Joe and I'm thinking, I'm seeing some commonalities. I'm thinking, Prano, between me and Tug, of like, we can't let go. We've combined over 25 years in the same apartment. Very un-LA like for us to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, the thing about you guys being in one place and then going, like, every time, I mean, Tug's only going in Culver City. Obviously, you're in Cincinnati, but you even said the first time you come back, you're like, I'm gonna have to go over to Savage Town, just see what's going up. Tug's only a town over. He's gonna be driving by his old place regularly, just nostalgically looking in the window. We talked about this Gen X nostalgia that's going on. Tug will one day, do a reality show of 2 younger dudes living in his former apartment. We'll eventually have to bring back a podcast.
Pang of nostalgia. I mean, like, you weren't there that as long, but like your place was like, I mean, you basically just rolled out of bed and walked right onto the beach. I mean, did you have any sort of like this touch of like, man, I'm gonna miss that? Yeah,
absolutely. No, there's nothing like just getting up in the morning and when the sun's coming in your window, when there's nothing blocking it because it's just the beach right there. It's a whole different thing. Like, I just feel like life was brighter literally then. And I miss it. And I miss always, I'm always nostalgic for my apartment I lived in Brooklyn for, the better part of 10 years. Every time I go back, I take a picture of the building, how the trees have grown and, how they've redone the roof deck and all that stuff. So I get it. I'm with you guys.
I mean, I've always lived I've never lived in like big lavish places, but I've always lived in cool places. Like you make a good point. Like for this apartment, for instance, it's in Santa Monica. It's at the top of the hill in Santa Monica. So for 10 years, I had unobstructed views to the ocean. I still have an unobstructed view to the mountains. And like you guys know, it's just impossible to get great views in LA. So that I'm gonna miss, number one. But when I lived in New York, like you, Joe, I lived on McDougal, right across the street from the Comedy Cellar and Cafe Wall. So like it was always buzzing. I would walk out my steps and go to Mamoon's Falafel or go to get a pizza, and it was like there was always a buzz. Like it was just like that. That's like maybe something only for your 20s or whatever. But like that special feeling, it was like hard to let go. Even when I moved out, I was like, now I'm gonna miss this.
So you were on McDougal on the east side of that street. What's the bar there that's downstairs? There's like a basement bar on your side.
Oh man. You know what? It's gosh, I can't remember that.
I'm sure
name
it's
of that
changed
bar.
a million times.
Yeah, it changed a couple times. There was like the across the street, directly across the street, there was like an artichoke pizza, which was like also an off the wagon, I want to say, or something like that.
Oh, that's like that was one of the first places I drank in New York City because they don't not a place where they check IDs.
No, not at all. It was very like
you'll turn and there's like a 12-year-old having a pint of Guinness, smoking a cigar.
I mean, that whole street is like that.
Off the wagon on McDougal is like the scene in Pinocchio where all the donkeys are.
I'm shocked that a place called Off the Wagon is serving minors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is like this is the first place that I ever, I bought. I'm a first-time owner. It's a townhouse, but like, so that feels like a little more responsibility where I've been used to. It's not full responsibility where there's still some shared stuff, but like here it's like anything. You have the freedom of being like calling the landlord for whatever.
Yeah, tell me about that. That's been the learning curve for me the last 5 months.
Sure.
Is older brother saying YouTube? That's a great thing. Figure it out. Oh, you're getting a plumber, pussy. Wait, I'm a pussy now? Like, wait, how does this work? I don't get it. Okay, Tug, March Madness, but let's get to it. You reached out to me and you said, dude, I got to come on. I got to talk a little college basketball. Joe and I have not watched too much this year. As I stated on Monday, it's very tough for me as a Xavier fan going on 30 plus years. It was tough for me because they had a decent team. They didn't play 11 games. They went through one span where they played, I believe, 2 games in 32 days. Like, it was tough for me. I'm like, how am I going to get into the season then? How am I going to get into Big East play, all that crap? So I kind of threw in the towel, but that's where you come in. You get us all energized. What should we expect, Tug?
Well, I'm coming in not as a full expert on the season, but just sort of just as a person who's following the betting trends and trying to understand like who's hot, who's the popular pick.
You've done the work.
There are, yes, exactly. That's what you said to me on a text. Like, I think this year is an abomination, and my pitch to you would be, this is still an opportunity to be entertained, have fun, have no allegiances. Basically, consider this a throwaway year anyway. Like, and so to say like what's kind of fun we can have. It also comes kind of at a nice time where I'm not saying you can have like mass groupings out there to watch stuff, but it's the first sort of sporting event where you're like, you could maybe have some beers outside with a buddy and watch, and be sort of like approved
Sure.
by the CDC. So, and I also think you're like talking about how this year is sort of like, it's crazy because certain teams played certain amount of games, other teams played a full schedule. Gonzaga's going to have 32 games on their schedule. Colgate's played 15.
My big question for you, Tug, is have the regions been set up where it's potential for you to have the 4 schools you have allegiance to meet in a Final Four? Like, we know you have Michigan, you have Virginia, you have Oklahoma.
I'm bummed.
You played Rick Pitino in a version of 12 Angry Men.
No Indiana State this year from our Larry Bird ties. Michigan's in there, of course. Oklahoma and Virginia are in the same bracket as a 4 and an 8 seed, so that's going to be tough for me. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I'll find some teams I'm going to fall in love with along the way. But yeah, I think this tournament is. It's you got to embrace like the uniqueness of it. It's all in one. It feels very AAU. I wish they put every game in Lucas Oil and had like 6 games running side by side at the same time. Just bring it right back to the AAU days. And you should have just done it over one weekend. And it's like, all right, you're playing at 2 and then you're playing again at 8.
Yeah.
Okay?
I like that.
And it would be just like less about, it would just be like go out and play and less about like the scouting reports and all this stuff. But so you gotta admire like what's going to happen, or at least be intrigued by how it's all going to shake out. Like Hinkle Fieldhouse, the home, the famous home of Hoosiers, and Butler is going to host some games. Like the sites are going to be cool because it's not going to be like all mega stadiums and domes for the first few games. And there'll probably be some Olympic sort of village style stories coming out of it because all these teams are like stuck in the same hotels,
which means lots of banging.
Yeah, the March Madness baby boom.
I don't think they've seen. I don't think I think they've seen the soul. I don't think these players have seen.
Really?
No. Well, I mean Virginia. So Virginia had a COVID positive test in the conference tournament, had to forfeit. So now what's happened, for those who don't know, Virginia has to pass 2 rounds of tests before they're allowed to practice. And if for some reason any team comes up with a COVID positive test, they have to forfeit. And there's a list of teams that fall into that slot into their place as alternates.
Really? See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So Louisville's the first alternate.
So you're telling me Virginia has to have a play-in game against COVID just for a chance to make the first round? They just keep expanding this tournament.
That's the nobody believed in us.
Yeah.
That's the real truth right there. we beat COVID.
COVID's a 1 seed. It's just a matter of which bracket they show up in.
Exactly. So a lot of interesting storylines on the court, but also off the court to follow the next few weeks. And
well, I want to go back to the girl thing. You know me, because it always comes back to sex. But I'm just like, I'm trying to the mentality of someone that age, and the fact that you couldn't, sow your wild oats, as they say in Coming to America. It's like, really? If that's Prano, I know we don't agree on all these things. If that's not one more reason to pay these kids, really?
Come on, let's be honest.
Now they have to abstain from sex.
They're not doing like this. It's not the NBA bubble. They're not. I feel like most college teams are probably, pretty on point when they get to the tournament anyway. I don't think there's a lot of in a regular year. I don't think there's a lot of Marquette kids are like, this is my chance to bang. I think college basketball players do fine on campus.
Sure. I mean, Rick Pitino did have an entire prostitution ring going on at Louisville. Who is a guy or a team, I should say, Joe and I are rooting for, Tug. Can you give us anything in the Iona Gales? They are a 15 seed. Any potential for an upset here?
Pretty big underdogs. I think they're like 8. Let me check the stats, actually. I thought about this because it seems to be a popular sort of groundswell. Like, ooh, Rick Pitino going to make noise. I almost want to play against that because it feels so – it's the only thing people know.
Who are they playing?
Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama. I'm trying to I'll dig up the line here in a second, but I think I want to say it's double digits, 15 to 18 point dog.
I want to ask you guys something because I had this conversation. I forget who I had this with recently, but speaking of Alabama, they've had a complete resurgence of their basketball program in the last few years. Do we think that's a direct result of the football team?
I don't.
No.
They've always been pretty good. I mean, they had
Sprewell.
Well, there's a coach that left from VCU to go coach Alabama who was pretty good. Had him making some waves. Never really made any noise in the tournament. Sort of fell, underachieved.
But who are some
that for coronavirus? They just had one coach every team. So Nick Saban's actually behind the scenes coaching men's basketball, gymnastics, track and field. They're dominant in everything right now.
But who's been what are the Alabama alumni, right? Didn't Latrell Sprewell go there?
Sprewell, Robert Horry, Antonio McDyess. Those are the big 3, I think.
Did McDyess go there or Mississippi State?
No.
He went to Bama?
Yeah.
Okay, so they put out some guys. So you're saying no, you're not going to put any money on Iona.
Iona's a 17-point dog. So yeah, if you think that like them to make some noise, and the spread is like for sure you got some room, but to me that says
from a bracketology standpoint, Tug, let me ask you something. With the uncertainty around college basketball this year, the lack of consistent schedules, whatever, would you say that this is a year like the common sense would say that there would be more upsets, but I also kind of think like maybe there's no upsets, what is your thought in terms of like how it will compare to a regular tournament in terms of lower seeds beating higher seeds?
I think there'll be some upsets in that sort of middle range that we always see, like the 4-13, 5-12 range, because teams are just in the middle. Teams are just equally competitive. Like it isn't really about like what big conference you came from. To me, I think like once you get into the mid majors, I definitely think you're going to see some people compete. For instance, like Utah State is a team that I'm watching. They're 11 seed. They're playing Texas Tech. Texas Tech went to the finals 2 years ago. I like Texas Tech, but the gambling market is shrinking. Like that line has gone from like 6.5 down to 4. Who is what Joe Q public is betting on Utah State right now? Not a lot of people. So that tells me maybe maybe they lose, but the game's going to be close. So I think you're going to see a lot of those games. Where I do see like not the non-upsets, I do see teams like Gonzaga is a big. If you look at the betting market to win it all, like Gonzaga is the overall favorite at 2-1 basically, right? Then it jumps to 5-1, so they're basically twice as likely to win the title as Illinois at 5-1. Then Baylor at 7-1, 7.5-1, Michigan at 10-1. So, and to get out of the brackets, that's kind of what I'm interested in. Gonzaga is the only minus favorite to be projected to come out. Everyone else is like you're gonna make some money if you pick them, but Gonzaga is minus 200 to come out of their own bracket. So to me, it's like if you want to pick Gonzaga, which I think a lot of people will, make sure you get some upsets going on in your brackets early to kind of mess things up.
I can't tell if I'm rooting for Gonzaga for Shibeli or against Gonzaga for Shibeli. Like, I kind of want his only year again, like we said, to be these asterisk years. And I do kind of want to see Joe Shibeli on, I want to see him storm the Capitol in Washington because they're not allowed to have a parade. And he's like, there's no proof that a parade is going to spread it. We should have a parade. Like, I kind of need him with like Viking horns and no shirt on the front steps of like the mayor's office in Spokane demanding a parade. But I'm also kind of like, fuck them.
Well, we talk a lot about nostalgia today, and I think Gonzaga fits into this bill a little bit to me. Is like, haven't they been like a good team for almost 15 years or something now? It's like, it isn't like they're just some young upstart. They've been creeping for a while now.
Yeah.
They were in the finals a couple years ago. They're always a team that's sort of like that Cinderella story that were making noise. And now they're the team that they're the odds-on favorite to win. And everyone knows out there, if they, the last team to go undefeated was Indiana in 1976 at 32-0. And if Gonzaga were to run the table, they would also be 32-0.
With an asterisk.
Asterisk, if you want to. Well, I mean,
yeah.
like.
I mean, I agree with you. I think Gonzaga's gone from being like everybody's favorite little Cinderella to like now, if they don't go, it's going to be kind of a choke. If they don't go to the Final Four, it's certainly a massive disappointment.
Totally agree. I guess my question to you all is that's actually where I wanted to go. Is Gonzaga seen as a place? Do you think the betting market or the general public says Gonzaga is that good, or are they saying Gonzaga is going to do what Gonzaga does? They're going to let me down if I pick them. Where do you guys see with Gonzaga? Well, at least like what the public is thinking. Do you think public says, yeah, they're the best team? It's not like UNC where UNC is number one. Everyone's going to ride UNC because they're going to keep doing it.
I don't think they get the respect still, which they probably deserve at this point, right? Like you said, I mean, they made the finals a couple of years ago. They've had the runs. They've had how many number one seeds? But I don't think, we're so, we talked about nostalgia earlier, right? Like in this country, it's so funny to me with sports. We hold on to this nostalgia when teams were good back in the day. you see it all the time. Like you said,
you Michigan State right now. Like Michigan State's trying to in a play-in game, and like probably 40% of the country has them going to the Sweet 16.
Right.
And they've been garbage for the bulk of this year.
And I think that's where probably Gonzaga's getting filled out in a lot of people's brackets. I don't know, but I know Duke's not in it. It seems like there's some usual suspects that are not in or on the fringe. And in normal years, Joe Q Public, like you said, who's filling out a bracket as opposed to maybe betting these games or whatever, is just going to look at it and be like, yeah, Duke. Yeah, this team, this team I've heard of, this team I know that's always there. And so in this year where they're undefeated and there's a lot of the usual suspects that maybe don't show up in their bracket, I think they're probably in more Final Fours than would normally be picked for an undefeated number one team and a Gonzaga.
So to me, my theory is that I think I agree with Andy in the sense that I feel like they aren't getting enough, even the respect that they might deserve. Like if you're just looking at the Vegas odds, they're even money to make the finals. So everyone else is plus 250 for Illinois, Baylor, plus 400. A lot of people are believe that the ship has sailed on Michigan. A lot of people are leaving. I don't know if it's because Livers is out, one of their great vets, or they just kind of were just peaking at the wrong time. They struggled. They lost. They got blown out by Illinois at Michigan 2 weeks ago. They beat Michigan State and then lost to Michigan State again, and then they lost to Ohio State by 1 point in the Big Ten tourney. So, I'm interested to see where Michigan goes because Michigan is a number one seed. They've been a number one seed for most of the year. They do have Florida State, which Vegas has as one of the highest teams that's not in a 1 or 2 seed to win it all. So if you're picking a bracket right now, to me, that's the bracket to attack. That is the just to make sure I have it right. That's the East. And the East, according to Vegas, seems to be the bracket to attack if you want a non-1 seed to come out of. Alabama is number 2 at 3-1. Texas is at 5.5-1. Florida State 6-1. And the team I think Vegas values very highly. I'm very interested in this. Connecticut, the 7 seed, better odds or worse odds, whatever you want to say it, than BYU at 6 and Colorado at 5. And they're the 13th. They have the 13th best odds in Vegas to win it all.
Wow.
So UConn.
That's our first nug.
That's a nug.
Up to this point, our episode has been like a pour order from Chick-fil-A, just totally nuggetless. We are finally here with the first Tug Nug, and I was waiting for it because really, I'm only here because I want to write down at the end of this. I want to leave with a list of teams that Tug has nuggeted me to watch. I want a Final Four. I want to know. So I now, do you believe in this? Do you like this UConn? Do you like people low-key on UConn?
Well, what's interesting about UConn to me is, and I had the same thing with Texas Tech. Their first round game, it's scary, right? Because their first round games are not they're not 8-point favorites. UConn's a 3-point favorite over Maryland. And one thing I'm tracking is I believe Big Ten had 9 teams in the tourney, and always, well, not always, but by and large, you see everyone's hot on one conference. Usually it's the ACC. And then you see the ACC sort of fall apart in the tourney. So I'm interested to see if everyone's going to go heavy on the Big Ten, and then people start to think, oh, they were awesome. Are they actually overrated? You'll see Purdue be in a battle, or Iowa's a 2 seed kind of struggle. So I'm willing to ride that because I think, as I said earlier, I want to be. Let me just make sure I know where they are.
So UConn, they're back in the Big East. They were gone for a minute. This is their first year back. I have seen them play. I did watch them play Xavier. Danny Hurley is their coach, correct?
How's him playing well?
Yeah, I think he's a pretty good coach.
I agree.
Yeah, they're an interesting play. I feel like teams with history like Prano's big on Cuse all the time because they got the history of just always going far a lot of times when you don't expect it.
To me, it's like, again, to follow up, I agree. I think UConn, I think Danny Hurley's got him playing really well. And so I think, again, if you want to attack the bracket that Michigan's in, I mean, just because looking at the odds, I think taking shots at, like, me personally, I looked at Texas, Florida State, and UConn in that bracket because, you know, I don't know how much to believe in Alabama. We talked about Alabama a bit. I'm not quite sure if I want to ready to believe in them yet. Michigan is trying to figure out how to survive losing 3 out of their last 4 games. So that seems to be a play for me. So UConn is like the first, just pure facts, the 13th best, 13th overall team according to Vegas to win it.
Is this Juwan Howard's first appearance in the NCAA tournament? Because last year was canceled.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any CTE flashbacks of Chris Webber's timeout? I mean, this is something to think about.
No, because he came back the next year and was awesome. Or maybe it was his, I think it was either junior year. He came back and played really well. It wasn't him.
I'm just saying. You know.
Oh, dude, that's the last time I cried.
Just saying, nostalgia.
It's the last time I cried.
That's the last time you cried.
Over sports. Or was that the last time you cried in general? That was that hardened you.
It really did.
I want a flashback right now.
Your wife gives birth to your second boy, and you're like, "Listen, not since the timeout. Sorry, I can't make them work."
Where are you at for that Michigan North Carolina game? That was that in New Orleans, that game?
Yes, it was. I was in the basement of my Virginia house, just watching by myself, and I think it's standing up over a beanbag. You know, everyone had a beanbag chair.
Oh yeah,
standing up over a beanbag chair.
And I remember, I think it was fairly similar to like Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka was sitting there on the bench, being like, hands in the air, like, "What are you doing?" You know, it's like. And so that's when
this is interesting to me. Like, this is a very Andy Ruther move too. I would watch games in the basement because I
wouldn't pay for a picture of a young Tug Coker in like plaid skids pants and like a Michael Jordan Looney Tunes Space Jam shirt with his hair all mid parted.
I definitely had a mid part bowl cut for sure.
Weeping.
At what point do you cry? When is that first tear drop? Is it after, right when he calls a timeout, or does it set in a little emotionally?
It just set in a little bit because I think they bring in the shooter's name is Donald something for UNC. And
Phelps?
I can't remember his last name at the moment, but he went 10 for 14 from 3 in the Final Four. And pretty much then, like, I knew it was over.
Was it Dante Calabria?
It wasn't Calabria, unfortunately. Great hair, though. As soon as I saw that hair, I went from mid-part to growing more to the Calabria style. But I remember, like, it really started to set in when Weber walked off by himself. Didn't, like, stay with the team, and he was inconsolable. Walked through the crowd into the locker room by himself, and it was like, this is over. That's kind of when it hit me. I was like, this Fab Five is done. Like,
was it Donald Williams?
Donald Williams.
There it is.
Yeah. I mean, great team. George Lynch. I think Rick Fox on that team. Montross.
Rick Fox. Wow.
Was Rick Fox on that team?
Pretty sure.
They were a good team.
So, anyway, we're getting away from March Madness. UNC is an 8 seed, by the way, and a very good 8-9 matchup, I should say. 1.5 point favorites against Wisconsin. Wisconsin and Ken Pom. Everyone know Ken Pomeroy? Everyone should be following him on Twitter. He's one of the great guys for college basketball. He has Wisconsin as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the 10th best team in the country as a 9 seed.
Wow.
So if you're interested in maybe like, you think like, oh, like we talked to Joe's point, people just see UNC get flashing lights and go make a run. Maybe go on Wisconsin as your play here.
Well, they are now. Is Wisconsin still boring white guys with defense and shoot threes?
Not all white guys, but their offense is still that sort of that's slow. It is sort of methodical, efficient. you know.
When they were that 7 seed and upset the 2 seeded Xavier, the infamous Bill Murray face, which became a meme, that crushed me. You guys remember that a few years ago? And they hit that 3 at the end. Oh, there's nothing. What's that?
Sam Decker on? Is that the Sam Decker
Yeah.
run?
I think I cried that night. I think I went on the beach, and I think there were actual tears.
I'm ready to cry again. I'm ready to cry in sports or just over anything, really.
Title of the episode. Tug Coker is ready to cry again. March Madness preview.
So I'll give you some of my tears because I cry way too much, and I'm sick of it. So
do you guys want me to leave the Zoom? You guys can do this by yourselves if you want.
I almost want to invoke but I don't do Norm Macdonald Prano of like, you know how you get yourself to cry all the time? Your parents die, huh? Okay, so back to the bracket. Do you believe in Michigan, though? You're telling me all these people don't believe in them. They're your team. Like, what are your thoughts, about them going far?
A lot of vets, a lot of vets, with a couple with a Dickinson, who's a big 7-foot center as a freshman. There's a lot of upperclassmen, transfer from Columbia. Mike Smith is a really good point guard. So in theory, they have the pieces to make it. They have a really good defense. I'm trying to decide. I haven't made a decision on Michigan yet. I'm trying to decide if what I'm seeing is the trend, where they're just sort of like, because there's a 21-day gap where they didn't play any basketball, and they came back and blew out Indiana in that next game. So I was like, oh, this team is just amazing. Like, they just don't care. They're a juggernaut. But then we start to see them play teams I think are really good, like Illinois, and get torched at home, and then run into a back-to-back rivalry game with Michigan State and split, but lose to another very good team, Ohio State. They beat Ohio State by 1 point earlier in the year, lost to them by 1 point in the conference tournament. So I think my point is I'm not quite sure what to believe. Part of me wants to take them because everyone seems to be jumping off the bandwagon, but I need to kick the tires a little bit more to make sure I feel like they're going to go make a deep, deep run. Like, again, by which I mean, can they beat Florida State? Florida State is, for those asking, is the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12th best team according to Vegas.
I love that we're like 20 hours away from the basketball tournament starting. We're trying to get Tug to tell us if he believes in his team, Michigan. He's like, I ain't gonna do it, so quit asking. He's just got full Saban on us. He's like, I'll talk about it for 10 minutes, but I'm not going to tell you whether or not I believe yet.
I don't know yet.
Maybe tomorrow morning we'll check in for an update.
The other one is Virginia. Like, Virginia is 4 seed. Obviously they're facing COVID this week. Hopefully they'll slip past them. And just so everyone knows, the alternates only take place before the tournament starts. Once the tournament starts, like, you just can't slot in the semifinals. It's over. Okay.
Can I hit on some of my Andy Ruther storylines, the ones that like no one's talking about?
Well, let me ask you one question before you do that. One quick yes or no. Plus or minus 0.5 forfeits during the tournament.
Ooh.
Due to COVID.
No, because I think this is where the lies happen, and they cover it up.
This is where the lies happen.
I'm just saying it's the same with like the NFL. They're gonna shit's gonna happen.
Another strong title. The NCAA basketball tournament, where the lies happen.
I'm just saying, like, they're not gonna cancel playoff games. They're not gonna. I just, because this is serious money, the NCAA tournament. I know what you're saying about Virginia. I'd be shocked if a 4 seed had to forfeit. It's one thing in the ACC tournament. This is a whole other, it's a whole other level with the billions of dollars at stake. So I'm going to say no.
Joe would say you.
I feel like I agree with Andy, but it is so many teams. I'm going to say no, but I think, if one of the books had this bet and was giving me, plus 400, I might take it. I might take a
I'm
yes.
gonna, as Andy gives his storylines, I'm gonna look around and see if that bet is available.
Yeah.
Feels like a good bet, a fun bet.
Well, here's some dirty sports updates that I want to discuss. I know Joe's going to wince when he hears it, but don't worry, Joe. I'm going to keep it clean. Sister Jean is back. Loyola's back in the tournament. They're an 8 seed. She's back. She's 101 years old, Joe. Sister Jean will be attending the Loyola games. 101 years old.
What's their seed? Where are they?
They are an 8 seed.
Wow.
I like this team. I will say this. Again, Ken Palm has them as a top 10 team as an 8 seed. And tell me you would not love this. Tell me you're not licking your chops at this game. Illinois is the 1 seed. And then Illinois, Loyola Chicago.
Yep.
Sneaks by Georgia Tech at 3 points. The line, by the way, Moses Sumney, the best player for Georgia Tech, is out. So that line has jumped from Illinois Chicago -3 to -5.5.
That's huge. We all know what happened. We all know what happened to the Israelites when Moses went down. Biblical joke.
Sitting on that one, or did it just come out? That was very good. But who doesn't want to see an Illinois Loyola Chicago? Is that the team name?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Yeah,
People. That's a sick game in Indianapolis. Like everyone, there's like a 15% capacity can come to these games. Like that to me is the game of the second, whatever round you want to call that.
And I like
game
it
of the year. I think I'm excited. Illinois, awesome team versus an 8 seed. It's an awesome team.
I agree. And as a Midwesterner who is very familiar with both schools, I've partied a few times actually at Illinois, Champaign, middle of nowhere. I mean, middle of nowhere, classic Midwest college town. I like that. And Sister Jean, 101 years old, she will be at the games, Tug. Do you think they get the Sister Jean bump? I mean, they got it a couple years ago.
First of all, I hope she's vaccinated.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the same thing.
Sister Jean, don't go full faith here.
I have a feeling she falls into one of the categories that got fast tracked for it, being 101. I believe the first age range they did was over 100.
You would hope.
So yeah, that to me is an awesome game. I'd love to see Loyola Chicago play Illinois in the whatever round you want to call that. For all intents and purposes, we're calling it the second round.
Illinois. So here's Illinois as a school in general, as an athletic program, they exist. I feel like they just exist to be like in the bottom half of all the major sports. Like you look around, you're like, you're watching college football growing up. You're watching college basketball growing up. It's just like, man, they're playing Illinois. And you're like, man, no one's ever come out of Illinois. No one's, you have like Darren Williams. Like you got nothing.
They were. Here's the thing about that. Let me hop in. They made the final, didn't they? When they lost to North Carolina, they were really good. But you're right.
Right, but I'm saying overall, and this is
Luther Head was on that team.
Yeah, this is the first time I feel like they're back in the mix since then. Their football team is like always bad,
terrible.
Well, they're using Ron Zook and like Lovie Smith, and like Lovie Smith had like the giant Santa Claus beard. Like it felt like where coaches like went to like go on vacation and like clear their brain, not thinking about football. So yeah, I like this team. I like that. I'm just pulling up a couple stats on this right now. They've been really good this year. 24-4, I think, at one point. They bring in Brad Underwood a couple years ago, who is like, if you think of like a coaching lifer, this isn't like, to me,
from LA Law.
I don't know. But like, if you look at
it's a Blair Underwood joke. I thought we were doing the nostalgia episode.
I didn't do the I didn't cross the race reference. That's on me. Because Brad Underwood, if you look at him, what a lifer this guy is.
Put it on the Underwoods tab.
Isn't there a Kevin Spacey Underwood?
What's that?
Wasn't House of Cards Underwood as well?
Oh yeah.
But so he's been in Illinois for a couple of years. Came from Oklahoma State. Stephen F. Austin. basically started at Dodge City Community College in 1988. You got to like these guys. You got to like these gamers, these lifers.
Quickly progressed up his coaching resume. Quickly got out of Dodge.
There it is. Oh, he went out of Dodge, and then he went to Daytona Beach Community College for a couple of years.
I love it.
You know who I'm
on this Illinois team for Frank Underwood.
Exactly. There's the nugs you need right there.
Each coach he's gonna play in the next round suddenly has like pictures of them having sex with a co-ed show up under their hotel room door. The Underwoods are at it again.
What about Grand Canyon University? That's another Andy Ruther storyline, because I didn't know this wasn't even a university until like a few years ago when I saw some commercials. Here's a little rug nug for you. I believe this is the first time they've ever made the NCAA tournament as a Division I team, because they used to be Division II.
That's a good nug.
I like it. I know that this is for sure not based in truth, but the idea that there's a university inside the Grand Canyon, how does playing below sea level affect shooting?
You know who their coach is. Let's see if either of you, I know Tug will get this. Let's see if Joe gets this. Their coach is Bryce Drew. Where did he go and where did he have the famous shot in the tournament in the early 90s?
Iona.
Tug, you know it?
I do know this because I was in the Bahamas at a craps table watching the game. And he does a big dive.
Yes.
Onto the floor for Valparaiso.
Ah, Valpo.
Who were they playing? Was it Mississippi State?
I think it was Auburn, as a matter of fact, but maybe I'm wrong.
I thought it was an SEC school, yeah.
But yes, that is quite a nug. And you listen, from one Drew to another, you transfer over to Baylor because it's Scott Drew running Baylor, and the team is, I think this team is loaded. The problem is they have a coach that I don't quite yet believe in. And there's a lot of rumors going around from Valparaiso's in Indiana, like, will Scott Drew leave Baylor to sort of resurrect the Indiana Hoosier program now that Archie Miller's been fired? Something to keep your eye on over the course of these 3 weeks is who's going to make a run that will become the hot name to come over to take over the dumpster fire that is Indiana. So it's just like a little sub story to be following over the course of the year.
Can I say something about the Indiana thing? Well, again, we're living in the past. Like, Indiana hasn't really done anything for how many years? Like, how many of these jobs where obviously it's a basketball state, but how many of these jobs, again, is it, okay, cool, Indiana was the shit how many years ago? You see my point? Like,
Joe is doing a gesture that I was just going to say that should end the conversation.
It's all about the money.
I don't care if Baylor wins the next, 5 national championships. Indiana, yeah, it's the nostalgia. Indiana, the capital of basketball. If you're an alum there, all you care about is the return to greatness. So they're just going to throw bags and bags of money at people, and no one's ever going to turn down, a monetary promotion.
And the other thing I'll say is, in the deal, and a lot of these coaches' deals, they get a certain allotment of money for just being fired. Like, there's like an exit package in the millions of dollars.
Well, Archie Miller himself, I think, is still guaranteed $10 million, and he was fired.
Correct. And they asked like either the AD or someone, like, how is the school paying for that? And he's basically saying, he didn't say this so directly, but he was basically like, boosters are going to take care of this money. Like, boosters, there's probably a bigger set of boosters at Indiana than there is at Baylor. Like, they're going to find a way to find out some sort of dark money to get the person that they want to get there. Now, there's talking whispers. Well, we won't do much NBA today, but Brad Stevens' name is sort of pie in the sky thing.
Oh, get out of here! I've seen that.
Celtics are 20-20 right now. They're not very good.
Hold on, I want to address that though now, right? You think, and I've seen that. Why would Brad Stevens leave, like, the franchise of the NBA?
Joe's doing a gesture.
I love that we're playing hypotheticals. Why? You're absolutely right. Why would he? If they offer him a ton of money.
You think Indiana would offer him more money than what the Celtics pay him?
Well, if they don't, he's not going to leave the Celtics.
It's the Tony Kornheiser says it all the time. The answer to all your questions is the hand gesture, money. But I'll say this: it is interesting about Brad Stevens because this as a boy, growing up thinking about being a basketball coach, you're probably thinking about two things. You want to win a championship for the Boston Celtics, and as a kid from Indiana, you're probably thinking about winning a national championship for the Indiana Hoosiers. Like, there's two dreams. So if he thinks like this dream, the Celtics is getting away from me, why don't I achieve my other dream of like bringing prominence? He's basically Theo Epstein for Indiana. Comes home, wins a national championship for Indiana. He will eat, whatever they grow in Indiana, he'll eat it for free for the rest of his life.
And I think we all know, we've seen this in college football and college basketball, in general. Like I think basketball more so than even the football, though we've certainly seen it with the Sabins and the Spurriers and whatever. But in basketball, if your idea is, listen, if I can get people to buy into my system, I can make winning basketball happen. If he really believes that. And when you're in the NBA, getting 20 something millionaires who have always been the best players that have ever walked in any room they've ever been in and have gotten by strictly on talent, it's hard to get those guys to buy into your system. It's way easier to get college kids, 1 out of 15 of them who are going to play at the next level to buy into whatever Brad Stevens does. So if the money is close or similar, it seems to me that could be an easy decision almost.
I would argue, Joe, that I get the money, but I would argue back. I would rather manage the Hoosier Strip Club in Muncie, Indiana, than coach the Indiana Hoosiers at this point. Shout out to anybody who gets that reference. And there's at least a couple dirtballs who were there.
Well, speaking of Hoosier Strip Clubs, the other name that's been tossed around jokingly to come back and spurn not only the Kentucky Wildcats, but the Louisville Cardinals would be the coach from Iona, Rick Pitino.
Wow.
Do they do a full heel turn? Indiana.
Wow.
Bring Rick Pitino back. Have him manage the Hoosier Strip Club in Muncie, Indiana, and coach the Indiana Hoosiers basketball team.
Yeah.
I actually like that idea.
See, Tug, I said about Pitino, everybody said, like, what is this? What's the next move? He already gets him in the tournament. I said, what if this is his, what if this is just what he wants to do? He brings a New York school back to the tournament, makes them, a fun name to think about. I said to Andy, he's for sure living in his house on the 8th at Winged Foot. He's got, he literally doesn't, he's living probably his retired life, commuting 15 minutes to Iona in New Rochelle. Like, is Pitino, are we sure that Pitino wants to return to like a famous basketball school to coach?
It's a good question. I would say
how old is Pitino at this point? He's got to be 65.
He's almost 70.
Yeah.
My thing is this. When you're driven by that much, there's a lot of ego involved. I'm assuming Rick Pitino has some ego still. And he's what, 50, 60?
He's 68. I
got a few years left. Do I want to take one more shot at the title and show everyone wrong? That everyone that told me that I was done, I'm back. Feels very Godfather-y.
Oh, he went to Greece for a couple years.
Yeah, it literally is Godfather 1. He went out. He married Apollonia. She got blown up in a car. He comes back to coach Iona.
He's been eating all that Mediterranean food.
Exactly. He's just been training, and he's gonna take over the Indiana job, and he's become a national champion, and he's gonna have the all the other coaches in the area murdered. It's the Godfather. So I'm loving this. But yeah, I could also see him. I just don't see him wanting to lay back. I see him being like, I got one more chance. Will someone make the move though? In this
yes.
climate?
Yes. Because to quote Joe Prano.
Yeah.
But like seriously, you can throw all that shit out. Like in our hypersensitive climate, I think at the end of the day, wins and money, that's all that matters, right?
I don't even think half these guys care about wins. I think they just care about the money.
Yeah.
Great point.
So Tug, we're almost an hour in.
Yeah, let me cycle through some picks that I think people should put on their radar.
That's what I was going to
I'm
ask.
gonna go full Dirk while Tug does. So I'll just be here in case you guys need me.
Exactly. All right, here's some quick thoughts I have for first round games. I'm just gonna run through some lines that I like. I always look for teams that are that for the purposes of this the bigger seed, like the 10 seed, 7 seed. I always look for where the underdog on paper is actually the favorite. To me, that seems like a straight automatic play. This line is moving around a little bit, but Virginia Tech is a 10 seed playing Florida, who's a 7 seed. That game is currently a pick'em. As of yesterday, Virginia Tech was -1. So to me, that's a game to target because it's like even as a 7-10 seed to get a pick'em is something that I would probably play 6 times out of 10. Hope to win. So I'll look at Virginia Tech as a 10 seed. Another game that I'm looking at, again, Utah State +4. I don't know if the value's gone, but I definitely want to look at that game as against Texas Tech. Even though I like Texas Tech a lot, I think Vegas likes them too. They think this game is going to be an issue. So keep an eye on that one. Another game that I think is interesting is a lot of these again, Wisconsin. We've liked them earlier. If Ken Palm thinks they're the top 10 team, they're getting points to UNC at +1.5. So look at that game. Another game I think is interesting. North Texas, a 13 seed against Purdue. Are we going to play against everyone thinking Big Ten is a great team? To me, Vegas says this game's going to be interesting. +7.5. North Texas is a 13 seed over Purdue. One of Rutgers. This is the Big Ten theme again. Rutgers is a 10 seed playing Clemson, a 7 seed. Rutgers is favored. The 10 seed is favored at -1.5, -115. Somebody's liking Rutgers. So to me, it's like take a shot at that game because, again, try to take advantage of the seeding. Other games I'm thinking about. Let me scroll through here. St. Bonnie's.
I was just looking at that. Yeah, I was just looking at that.
+1.5 against LSU. Like LSU is, the SEC outside of Kentucky in that great Florida run. I find myself having a tough time buying into the SEC basketball. So give me 1.5 playing against LSU. Let's see. Any other ones out there that I think are really interesting? Again, UConn is a 3-point favorite. If Vegas loves them so much, why not just nab that 3-point game? Take the 3 points or give the 3 points for UConn.
What about Winthrop? What about this Winthrop Villanova game?
There's a lot of buzz about this. A lot of buzz about Winthrop. I'm always curious when teams everyone is bought into the 5-12 upset. That's like the upset pairing. Statistically, I think if you look at it, I think 4-13s have just as many. And I think when upsets start to smell public, I usually try to go the other way. That's just my own opinion. I'm kind of contrarian in that sense.
But they've been successful in the tournament, and also they have a good coach. He's actually a Cincinnati guy. He went to Xavier. I think their coach is Pat Kelsey. They've been consistently good, and I know they've had a few upsets. That's why I was looking at that one. And Villanova, I feel Villanova either wins it all or they get upset early.
They do have that history. I'm trying to figure out what the line is. I don't see it at the moment. But just look at futures real quick as people are filling out their brackets last minute. Let me put that together for everybody. Okay. So futures. Gonzaga, overwhelming favorite right now, 2-1.
Okay.
Here's a team that I really like, and I have them in some of my brackets because you wouldn't think it, right? The highest, the team that Vegas respects the most in the 2 bracket is Houston. Houston is +1,500. They're the highest rated 2 seed on the board in Las Vegas. I don't think anyone outside the casual viewer is going to think Houston's any good. Like Houston's not a big name. Kelvin Sampson, formerly of Indiana and Oklahoma, is the coach there. They've been good the past couple of years. To me, that's a team that I want to look at, especially in just so I can point out, in the Illinois bracket, in the Midwest, Illinois is plus 135 to go to the Final Four. That's like, you pay $13 to win 10. Houston is you pay $25 to win 10. 2.5 to 1. The next best team is 900. It's 9 to 1.
This is the same bracket. Illinois is 1, Houston's 2.
Yep. And the next best odds is Oklahoma State at 4, at 9 to 1. Now you may see another team come out of it, but to me, it's saying either Houston or Illinois is coming out of that bracket. Just reading the tea leaves. So the other teams in that bracket are Oklahoma State is 9 to 1. If you like Oklahoma State, you're going to get pretty good odds to them come out of the bracket. 9 to 1. West Virginia is the 3 seed, 9.5 to 1. Tennessee is actually below all these people at the 5 seed, San Diego State. So to me, it's like a two horse race. That's why I think, like, if you wanted to shake up your bracket a little bit, I mean, Houston is not like that. It's a 2 seed, but it's like a team that Vegas seems to really respect. So I don't know, give them a look.
You know what I don't like is that the games aren't on the traditional days this year.
They're not.
No. They're
They start on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, normally it would start today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't like that as much. Okay, Tug, give me your final 4, and then we'll wrap this up.
All right, my final 4 is going to be. Let me look through my thing. I'm going to pick.
Does Syracuse have any chance of making a Syracuse run?
I think they have a chance. They're 11 seed. They're a 3-point dog in the first round. And classic Syracuse, like they're either gonna lose badly in the first round or make a run. I mean, I think like they have a coach's son playing. The young Boeheim's out there getting buckets for him. I think he had 25 in the tournament recently, in the ACC tournament.
He's got a son that young?
It's hard to believe, right?
God. How old is Boeheim?
It's Kobe doing work right there. Yeah, I don't know.
Boeheim's 76. Damn. What's his son name? James?
Boeheim, that's all I know.
Buddy.
Definitely Boeheim. Buddy Boeheim? Is it?
Yeah, he's 21. He pumped out a kid at 55. Man.
That's the Ruther route right there.
The fuck game is strong on Jimmy Boeheim. 55. Man. You know what? That's probably the best inadvertent tug nug of this whole tournament. Jim Boeheim's pumping out kids at 55.
That Boeheim was able to penetrate the 2-3 zone at 55.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Drive the gaps. That's how you beat the zone. Drive the gaps.
I love how Tug comes on here with all this serious stuff, and I'm just like, dude, he's pumping out kids at 55.
Meanwhile, I'm doing deep basketball zone break jokes, and Tug's just staring at his phone.
No, I'm looking for any last nuggets you want to give out to people.
I want to know how you break the 2-3 zone at 55. That's all I'm focused on.
Drive the gaps.
What else do you do in Syracuse? I mean,
yeah.
Bang, apparently.
Yeah. It's snowing. Snow on the ground from
So that's going to bring me, as Tug's looking at that, that's going to be my next question. Is LA going to be a giant orgy scene when I'm out in a month? What's the deal, Prano? What's the vibe we're getting?
I mean, there's certainly, a sense in the air. People are like, it's like right now, it's like when you go to a dog kennel and you're there to adopt a dog. All the dogs are like clawing at the gate, trying to get out. They're like, I'm here. Pick me. It's going to be, we're only a month away from that. So I know you're coming out.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out there.
It could be interesting. It could
and
be interesting.
I will be vaccinated.
I feel like, that's the time of year when baseball's happening, right around May or right around April, late April, especially in some of the cold weather cities. But I feel like LA is this year gets to get that cold weather city spring vibe where people are like itching to get out, but itching to get out from quarantine. So yeah, it could be interesting.
Well, Joe, you and I played golf with a friend last week.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people that like got into these quarantine one-on-one relationships that are finally starting to be like, is this my move?
Yeah.
Is this why I go ask her to grab me something from the fridge, and she turns around and I'm gone.
I bolt out the door.
The door is just like swinging, and the screen door is just like billowing in the wind. So you're seeing a lot of people being like, I'm kind of tired of the last year.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting while you're here, Andy. There'll definitely be some action for you.
I am like a caged animal. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's pathetic. And the weather, like I'm going to sprint. I cannot wait to be sprinting on the beach.
Like Rocky 3.
I mean, yes. I'm going crazy. I cannot wait to be in the nice weather. God. Anyway,
quality of life.
Who we got for Final Four, Tug?
So I mean, to me, all the numbers say Gonzaga is going to come out of their bracket. I'm going to roll with Houston because I just like a team that feels like a good team that people aren't really going to pay much attention to. So give me Houston. Give me. I'm sad to not pick Michigan for the purposes of like entertainment, making money. I'm going to roll with Texas to come out of the East, Gonzaga out of the West. I'm going to do Houston out of the Midwest. I like Baylor, but I'm going to go with Texas. I'm gonna. If Texas Tech can get past Utah State, if they can get past them, I'll make a surprising 6 seed upset for them to return back to the Final Four. They may lose in the first round, but if they do, I think they can go on a run. Baylor, we'll see if Baylor can play defense when it matters.
What seed is Texas?
3.
Okay, I've been hearing a lot of Texas talk. A lot of people like Texas.
Here's why I like Texas. Struggled. One of the most talented top starting 5 teams in the country.
Shaka Smart still coaching them?
Shaka Smart's still there. Hair fully grown out.
Wow.
Really?
Don't know why he ever bicked his head because his hair is lush.
Well, there's a conspiracy there.
What's that?
Did he have the hair?
That's a good point. I don't know if he added it as part of the Texas deal. Maybe it's the boosters. I'll put the hair in, but he looks great. Got the team playing well, and they're talented. Like it just becomes a part of like, it's more residual Rick Barnes era of being disappointing. But can they play their game and make some runs? And I just like picking at the Michigan bracket. Alabama, I'm just not fully believing in. BYU's a 6. Texas hopefully gets by them. UConn, and then like up top is Colorado, LSU, and a Florida State. Like it just feels like a bracket that could be taken. So I'm going to roll with Texas, but I'm going to take Gonzaga and Houston in the finals. Guys, if people listening out there, I don't know anything. Just don't put your brackets on the line because of what I'm saying.
Love the fine print at the end.
But if I were making
all picks are for
brackets,
entertainment purposes. Tug does not watch any college basketball this year. Please do not pick college basketball based on Tug's picks. You may lose extensive amounts of money if you pick with Tug Coker. He has watched exactly 2 college basketball games this year. Thanks for joining the 30 Sports Podcast. Andy, sorry about what he said about Taylor Swift.
I'm not sorry about what I said about Taylor Swift.
If I'm making multiple brackets, I'm putting some on Houston because I don't think a lot of people are going to pick Houston. But I think like the other bracket would be like I'm thinking Gonzaga is going to run the table, the best team in the country. So that's what I'm rolling with.
Well, on that note, Tug, I have scrolled through some YouTube and there's a question for you. Is that a shower curtain behind Tug?
I said this off air, but like I have a very nice window that just is too blinding. So
yeah.
So that's yes. Next time I'll do it in my shower. When I move to the new place, the shower will be my office.
I like it.
The backdrop does look like, when they show like the audition reads of people for like The Godfather 1 or Star Wars. It was like Harrison Ford in front of a curtain.
The best part about all those is like seeing all the people that didn't get the job.
Yeah.
Like auditioning for for the Al Pacino role, like De Niro's doing it. It's everyone should deep dive into that someday.
And one of the great SNL sketches. Remember the
really great
the Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a good one. Here's a fun fact.
Jack Lemmon.
Pacino, when I used to work at Hotel Oceana in Santa Monica, Pacino for a minute, I don't know why he started doing this. He used to come to the hotel, and that's where he'd like to read scripts, like in a room there. And he'd come to our hotel.
Because you got great light. You got a great lamp.
And then he had a Brazilian assistant.
Yeah, I bet he did.
And this dude would come down to what did he call him? He just referred to him as for me it's like Al Pacino. He just say, "Oh, Al," and I'm like, "Al." He's like, "Al Pacino." He's like in that room, and I'm like, "Dude, fucking Al Pacino." Like, to me, it's a full name. It was just so weird to hear Al Pacino called Al. Al over there.
Everyone calls him Pacino. If you don't know him,
yeah,
it's Pacino.
So Al.
Do you guys want to throw in any random Final Four picks so I can learn?
Yeah, Iona is gonna win it all.
That's the right pick.
Iona taking it. Iona versus Grand Valley State. It's going to be Patino versus Bryce Drew. By the way, Grand Valley State also coached by former NBA legend Dan Marley.
Great. Is it Grand Canyon?
Yeah. What did I say? Grand Valley State?
Yeah.
That's I think
is it Grand Canyon or Grand Valley?
It's Grand Canyon. That's Grand Valley. I think is a school in Michigan.
But I actually remember Dan Marley when he did it. I didn't know that they moved over to
Thunder Dan.
Drew brother. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thunder Dan.
So you have no picks I need to learn from. What anything you guys want to throw out there? I can.
No,
I came for your picks, Doug. Like I have to fill out. I'm gonna fill out a bracket this year. And I was here to get some Tug nugs. I like just taking it in from you and from the public chatter, and just getting like trying to pick out who's getting too much talk, who's getting overhype. But it sounds like everybody's on a similar few teams. But I like your UConn nug. It's when you're picking a bracket, it's all about those early ones. It's all about getting those early upsets.
100%. I'm gonna hitch my wagon to Houston because I just feel like of the other two seeds, Ohio State, Iowa, these feel like popular plays, and Houston just does not seem to be that play.
I can't pick Iowa just because they have the villain from Teen Wolf as their best player,
Luka Garza.
Well, yeah. We all know what happens anyway. You know who wins these things? It's like my sister-in-law was texting me saying, I'm filling out my bracket. It's the people who don't watch a single thing ever.
That's what I'm counting on it.
Who just guess. Those are the people who win the March Madness bracket. Well, Joe, I referenced coming out to LA, and I'm excited because with things opening up, that means more time one-on-one with friends to drink Miller Lite. That's got to bring us.
I will be holding multiple Miller Lights in honor of your arrival, Andy.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, I will. When you get off the plane, I will hug you with a Miller Lite in each hand.
And I will be sleeping next to a Miller Lite fridge.
You absolutely will.
Guys, Miller time, it's here. It's always been here, but it's going to be here more than ever with everything opening up this summer. Holidays are coming. We got Easter, spring break, July 4th, all these great holidays.
Baseball, Ray.
And baseball to celebrate Miller time. Miller Lite, great taste with only 95 calories and 3.2 carbs. However you and your friends are enjoying Miller time, you can have the original light beer delivered by going to millerlite.com/dirty sports and find the delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. And get those Miller Lights. Order them. Go to the store. MillerLite.com/dirty sports. Okay. A lot of NFL free agency, guys. And we can rapid fire this. Or you guys can just, this is good. This obviously is a fluid process, and you can talk about what you think so far. I think to me, the big takeaway everyone's talking about is just the Patriots. Like, they go from never spending money to Belichick is clearly motivated. I think there was a whole plan in place, right, from last year, not spending money. And
well,
now
I don't even think it was not spending money as much as
they didn't have it.
He was kind of open about that, and I think he tried to temper everybody's expectations. And it was it him playing possum, or was it him being honest? And turns out it's him being honest. He was just like, we built. I always thought it was low key kind of shade at Brady. Not that he ever obviously had to overpay Brady, which he didn't. Brady obviously with the Brady restructure strategy always did well. But basically he kind of, I think threw a little shade at Brady toward the start of last year, saying, saying without saying, I was kind of forced to keep him maybe longer than I wanted to. And with that, I had to, put all my chips in the middle of the table and spend to try to win with him, because, why have him around if we're not trying to win the Super Bowl? And that they got handcuffed by that spending, and he did the 1 year, rebuild. They got all that money off their books. They got a little bit of spending money for their first time, and he went big. The thing is, he didn't go big names. He just went lots of names.
Yeah.
My feeling is, and I'll let you jump in, Andy, is that I thought there were some great moves, but I thought there were some curious moves too. Like, they're adding a lot of pieces, but are the pieces that are going to move the meter? Like, there's still a hole at the quarterback position. We're not quite sure. I mean, yes, Cam is there, but are they going to go into the draft and is that draft enough to utilize, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, like a double tight end package at max tight end dollars, and then go and grab Nelson Aguilar that was on, basically went to Oakland or Las Vegas for like $1 million last year. And now he's getting like $13 million. He's making more than Curtis Samuel, who I think Curtis Samuel's like a really good player. So like, I'm just kind of confused. Bring Kyle Van Noy back, some return to previous players. I like the idea of Belichick being triggered by what Brady did last year, but I'm curious. I just don't see the through line yet. And maybe that's just the genius of Belichick, but sitting on the sidelines, I'm like, I like the pieces, but I just don't see how they end up into more wins.
I feel like his through line, and maybe I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt here though, is I feel like the deals are coming in two fashions where they're either longer-ish. I mean, now there's some outliers on this theory, but they're longer-ish deals that are guys, he's paying, good money for, where it's these guys are going to be here for the long term. And then it's maybe bigger, shorter term deals where it's like, hey, let's give Cam a guy for next year. Let's get a couple weapons, and we can kind of play for the short term in terms of like getting back to respectability, but also leaving themselves with a little room when some of these guys come off, if they, start the process over with a quarterback on a rookie deal, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Where 4 years from now, they haven't been handcuffed by anything that they did this year, but they also have some guys in place, at this year's number. I don't know. That's the only thinking that I have.
They've always been smart. I mean, Belichick's always been the master of sort of manipulating money, turning picks, getting compensatory picks and things like that. He's always been the best, or one of the best, if not the best, at doing that. Like, what I'm interested in is, they did like their weapons last year outside. I mean, Edelman is like their best receiver. He's getting older. He's banged up. N'Keal Harry was a first-round draft pick, I think, not panning out right now. Jacoby Meyer, like they had Aguilar, but like they also went and get Jonnu, who's I think is a great piece. Hunter Henry's also a great piece. So I guess it comes down to McDaniel to me. Like, are you going to be able to scheme your brains out to make this happen? Because like Galladay is still available. I know he's talking to the Giants. Like you could have gone out and gotten a big dog. Go back to the 08 and get like a Randy Moss. You know, he's not Randy Moss, obviously, but like get an elite wide receiver.
But then you're
pair with Jonnu.
Right, but then you're tied to him for a long time. And if you look at Cam Newton's like what you know, the Cam Newton Greg Olsen tandem is what makes Cam Newton work. Like I feel like Cam Newton at this point is
a tight end guy
running off tackle and throwing, you know, tight end dump outs.
That's what I was thinking. To me, I see the tight ends. That makes sense for Cam. He can't throw the ball downfield. He's not accurate.
Well, he did throw it. I mean, he did have Kelvin Benjamin, who's terrible. Get some real use from Cam. We just don't know what Cam is. I guess my point is you're investing a lot of money in still having Cam the quarterback. If Cam is not good, why isn't another full year blow up? Why didn't they take harder last year? You know what I mean? If you had all this money at your disposal, and maybe this is, I mean, I guess it's hard to be inside Belichick's head, but like, why wouldn't you go? Why bring Cam in at all? Play Stidham, go 2-14. Then you have your pick of the litter with the quarterback of the future, and then you add these pieces, and you know it's like, okay, now we're really cooking here. So it feels like a lot of moves to still be 7-9, 8-8, 9-7 again this year. That's just my opinion.
I think they win at least 9 games. We discussed this last episode. I think they win at least 9 games.
I mean, the division is harder than it's ever been for the Patriots.
Yep. That's why I said over under third place.
Like, the Bills are. I mean, the Bills. You feel like have gotten, or you know, I think they added Did they add Manny Sanders? I think they. Check out. I think they added Emmanuel Sanders to replace John Brown, which is fine. You know, you got to assume the Dolphins are trending up, and the Jets are probably going to be better than they were last year. Not going to
be worse.
Yeah, I mean, like getting even like the Gase factor probably. I mean, who knows what they're going to do at quarterback? But you got to feel like they're going to be a little bit better. So I just don't know. I mean, I kind of smile when I think of Belichick because I just feel like he's just enjoys the persona that he's created for himself. But I am curious to see what these moves are going to provide for them, not only this year, but like as Joe said, like if they don't work out, like what's going to happen? It feels like a half measure to me.
I think this offseason will be you won't really be able to give a report card on this for 2, maybe 3 seasons because you're like, okay, the guys that are still here on those like 2-3 years from now, these guys that signed deals this year that are still there, how much are they contributing and what's been built around them as opposed to the guys who like Cam who are on a big short deal and, you know, maybe he's a placeholder.
The other thing I'll say is like, you know, there's still teams that are going to draft they're going to draft quarterbacks, whether that's the 9, like I guess my point is, does Garoppolo somehow become available again if the Niners go quarterback? You know, does Darnold become on the move? And you know how like Belichick is the king of arbitrage. Like, you know, he's the king of trying to collect people's garbage and turn it around. So maybe there's some plan in the works where they say like, oh, we think like,
which by the way is a real thing out here in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Belichick
collecting garbage.
Dude, I put out an old rug from that wasn't needed anymore. No lie.
Talk about tug nugs. How about rugs? We got the rugs.
Dude, they go around like the suburbs, right? Like the nicer areas. Somebody took the rug like an hour after I put it out for the night before garbage. Anyway, just wanted to share that.
Thanks for that.
This is my life now, Tug. So when you mentioned grabbing people's garbage, I'm like,
it was Bill Belichick, by the way. Bill Belichick showed up in a truck. He's like, this will look great in the quarterback's room. You know me, picking up garbage.
Yeah, I mean, but other thing I like about Belichick is it feels like a poker or chess. Like the idea of zigging when everyone else zags, I think is so appealing to me. Like no one expects Belichick to do this. And the fact that he did do it, like you almost got to defer to him to be like, there's some plan in place. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Like I look at it and I go like, I feel like he's building two different teams. I feel like he's building a winner 3 years from now, and he's building like a team to like kind of compete and stay like. I don't think Cam and Aguilar are part of the long-term Patriots process, but he's giving Cam a receiver, and he got him for 2 years.
Well, we talked about age. Belichick's gonna be 69 next month. Like what's left in the tank for him or his drive? Is it now just
Jim Boeheim, 2 more kids, and
I mean, you have to believe he's more driven now than ever
because of Brady winning a title.
100%.
Man. Okay, so the new drive is I got to win a title. Brady won a title.
Yep.
But if Brady doesn't win last year's Super Bowl, there's not as much drive.
I'm sure he's still driven. I'm sure he still wanted to win one. I'm sure he was motivated to get one over Brady. Now that didn't really work out, so now he's got to equalize. That's my thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense. Has there been like a crazy signing that you guys really didn't like, or one you in particularly did like?
I mean, the one I did and didn't like is my boy Fitz to the Washington football team. I mean, I love it. He gets a 9th team
to start for.
He's going to start. He's getting, at this point, he runs around collecting 7-digit, 8-digit paychecks on a year contract from wherever he goes. And I hate it because he's in the Giants division, and it'll be tough to root for him, but at the same time, like great for Fitz magic to the Redskins, the former Skins.
I'm ready to say real quick, and Tug, this. Is there a bigger Ryan Fitzpatrick stan in the world than Joe Prano?
I have another friend who's equally, because he played football against him. He was at Yale while Fitzy was at Harvard, so I think he's been following that trajectory. So, but there's a 1A for sure, 1 and 1A.
Again, I'm not even a Ryan Fitzpatrick stan.
Yes, you are.
I just like to, I think to me again, and it's really all about Jets fans. It's all about Jets fans. Jets fans love to blame everybody. They're gonna love you for 3 minutes when you sign with them, and then immediately you're the problem. This is why we suck, because fire Gates. Fire Gase. Get rid of Fitzpatrick. We love Darnold. We hate Darnold. Darnold's a savior. Fuck Darnold. Like, tank for Trevor. And the Jets fans, who I think at this point they were a game away from the playoffs with head coach Todd Bowles and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they couldn't wait to get them both out of town. And I'm just like, fuck Jets fans for not respecting 2 guys that made you anything but a laughing stock for once in 45 years. You go every decade, you get a chance to not be a laughing stock. And Rex Ryan was, the hero worship for Rex Ryan, but they did the same thing to Mark Sanchez. Oh, the butt fumble, get him out of here. It's like, how many AFC championship games did Boomer Esiason take you guys to? You'll blow him in public. Mark Sanchez goes to 2 AFC championship games. You're like, get him out of here. So it was the 10-6 Fitzpatrick season with the Jets where people were like, garbage, get him out of here. I was like, I don't know what you guys want. A guy to throw for 4,500 yards and take you to the cusp of the playoffs? And that's where my turnaround on Fitzpatrick came. And now I'm just like, guys, give a guy credit where credit's due. It's been in the league 15 years.
Well, where are they then with him?
Who? The Washington football team? Competing in the NFC East? For sure. Who's the runaway winner of the NFC East?
I like the play. I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I like what Washington's doing. I think McLaurin is for real. I like Curtis Samuel. I think is really undervalued. And they went to Ohio State together. I don't know if you saw the tweets. Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel said they were talking about in freshman dorms playing together in the NFL, and now they're doing it. And they add they have that I can't remember his name. Is it Gibson? I think for or whoever, I can't remember the running back who's a rookie. Really, really talented, and like I think they're set up nicely. And the former Virginia Tech quarterback who's their tight end, I think they're just like a good, like they have a chance to make some noise with in the North Turner scheme. I think his son, North Turner's son, is the OC there. I'm not happy that the Cowboys will get to watch one of their rivals get better, but like Fitzy loves, like, love him or hate him, like he's so entertaining and he's gonna sling it. Like that's in an age where there's so many like check down, a lot of check down quarterbacks. Like this guy's not afraid to throw it in there.
And I feel like in a wide open NFC East where no one's the clear favorite, it's like and you got all these young guys and you got a good defense. The idea of bringing in the game manager type seems like, oh, that's the answer. Let's just like win close football games. But it's like, honestly, when your division is so crazy like that, like you're just going to have to throw it around sometimes. You just have to chuck it around. You're just going to have to win, some crazy games. How much better do the Cowboys get paying Dak all the money that you can fit in Jerry World? The Giants' big move so far has been signing Mike Glennon to back up Daniel Jones.
Great move.
Love it.
And the Philadelphia Eagles aren't sure whether or not they're even like their coach or GM has permission to even sign a backup to the guy that they benched for, Nate Sudfeld in the final game. So Fitz magic to the NFC East is like the NFC East move of the offseason.
Plus the Washington football team's defense is young and talented and loaded. Yeah. Like they already have they have like Alabama. Their whole front seven is like Ohio State and Alabama, like just studs. So from a talent perspective, they're getting loaded. Like they're actually like gearing up. So of all the years that Fitzpatrick has been on a team, like this is a chance for him to really make some noise because, like you said, the NFC East is up for the taking, and there's some shifting going on in the NFC in general. Like Breeze is gone. Brady's obviously still is there and doing well, but like, Green Bay's like they're doing the thing that I think is you shouldn't do, which is you're paying. There's been a lot of moves in the GM space that I like have a hard time believing. The Packers drafted AJ Dillon in the second round last year to be their running back, and then they re-signed Aaron Jones for big money. Like, have they not watched multiple other teams sign running backs?
Although I said this last episode, I know the move has been to shit on every running back deal, but at some point you have to give a running back a second contract, right? Unless we're saying the smart move in the NFL is just literally never pay a running back that's not on a rookie deal ever. Because Jones, 48 for 4 years. But it's not a Zeke deal. It's not a Gurley deal. It's not what the Saquon deal will be. It's not whatever. Yeah, it's $12 million a year, probably more than you want to spend on a running back. But A.J. Dillon and him together, like, you're going to be able to run the ball.
I don't have an argument with that, except that the use of draft capital is extremely poor. Like, why are you drafting Jordan Love at your first pick and AJ Dillon at your second?
Yes, that's a whole other.
They're related because
totally.
It's the GM doing this crafting of the team. So for you to draft AJ Dillon and Jordan Love when you're in a win now mode,
right?
That's terrible.
But drafting weapons for Aaron Rodgers is different than drafting Aaron Rodgers' replacement. That's where the Jordan Love pick is just so ludicrous. But
and I agree. And I also don't think, like, if you're in love with Aaron Jones, then like then use the second round pick on a wide receiver. You're like, unless you're using the second round pick AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones at the same time, like you're only optimizing so much by having one guy on the field at a time. So to me, like there's moves like that what I question. I have no idea what the Bears are doing. Like they could have Andy Dalton. They could have had Andy Dalton last year for the money that they paid, Foles. Now they have Andy Dalton. Like there's just a lot of moves out there that I just don't quite get. And I do like the Dak move because I think Dak, as a Cowboys fan, is elite. My problem, as always, is with the Zeke deal. I just don't think I think Pollard is a better player at this stage.
Let me hop in here real quick, guys, because we actually had a really good call about the Aaron Jones thing. I want to play it real quick because it's couldn't be more pertinent than right now of what everybody's saying as far as paying. Because he came with his own Tug nugs, and these are some pretty interesting
I
numbers.
love some nugs. Give them to me.
Hello, guys. Dirtball Evan here from Akron, Ohio. And I just want to touch on the running back conversation that you guys had last episode about the Aaron Jones contract. And I just want to say this. The last 12 Super Bowl champions, these are the leading rushers on the team. Leonard Fournette, Damian Williams, Sonny Michel, LeGarrette Blount 3 times, C.J. Anderson, Ray Rice, Ahmad Bradshaw, James Starks, and Pierre Thomas. I left one person off that list who was the highest paid. I'll tell you at the end of the show who it is. But all those guys made between $400,000 and $2 million a year. Teams that have won Super Bowls have not paid big money for running back. Prano always calls it a Super Bowl or bust league, and the facts say that Super Bowl teams don't shell out big money for running backs. Running back is a very replaceable position in a salary cap sport. That money is better spent anywhere else on your roster. And you see examples all the time, like C.J. Anderson back in 2018 when the Rams made the Super Bowl, when Todd Gurley was banged up. You know, he was out there on a great end-of-the-year run and the playoffs. And even, you know, James Conner a couple of years ago with Le'Veon Bell, you know, holding out, had a great season. And there's so many other examples of the running back just replacing the stud, and, you know, everything nice and dandy. And the highest paid leading rusher on a Super Bowl winning team over the last 12 years was Percy Harvin, who made $2.5 million for the 2013 Seattle Seahawks, and he's a wide receiver. Stay dirty.
That's pretty, like, to me, that was pretty crazy to hear that of the last 12 Super Bowls, basically everybody made between $400,000 and $2 million.
I have no problem with that. And that's also, well, a couple things. First of all, if Todd Gurley's healthy, the Rams have a legit shot of winning that Super Bowl. So there's, you know, you could say, oh, C.J. Anderson stepped in and did okay, but he's also the reason that position, that hole at that position is probably the reason they don't win that Super Bowl. Now, that call and that nug is why the running back position became valued the way it was. My argument for the Aaron Jones deal, and I'm not saying I love the deal by any means, but I'm just saying the argument for it is there was almost the running back strike back, you know, the trend in recent years of guys to get the big deal, the Zekes, the Christian McCaffreys, the Gurleys. You know, I'm sure Saquon's going to demand a big deal. The return of those guys that want to be paid as if they are, you know, an elite position and get $20 million a year. So for the Packers to not sort of fold and give out one of those deals, yes, they still overpay that position, but they don't, you know, they're not going, well, we had to give him 20 million. That's what the market calls for these days for an elite running back. And at the same time, not go, well, we got to, you know, back-to-back NFC championship games, and this guy was a big part of it, but fuck him. We'll find a running back for $400,000 on the scrap heap. That's my only argument for that deal. And again, I don't love the deal. I'm just trying to tell you the reason why, if you're a Packers fan, and at this point, your first and foremost objective is to keep Aaron Rodgers happy, the guy who's going to and does get you to NFC championship games. That's my only defense for that deal.
The reason I have issues with the deal is because, again, they're using draft capital improperly, and they also use him improperly in scheme. Like in the crunch time moments of the game, I'm not seeing Aaron Jones even on the field.
Yeah,
like we would see Jamal Williams in the crunch time moments against the Bucs. Jamal Williams was on the field. So, like, I like Aaron Jones, and everyone's always saying on, you know, fantasy football, everyone's saying free Aaron Jones. We all know how talented he is, but when it gets down to it, like when the GM is using draft capital to draft the backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers and another running back, and then they don't play the guy that they're paying on the field, like there's just questions in my mind of like, how are we making the best use of our team and our players? That's where I have issue. with that signing.
You know what's something I do like, and it's not like it's a huge change, but I think it just adds to what they already are building, is AJ Green in Arizona, because they're not paying him much. And now you have what's that?
I'm so glad you brought Arizona.
Yeah, I like that signing. You know, you have him. Obviously, he's a veteran. Larry Fitzgerald's a veteran, but then you with DeAndre Hopkins, like I don't know. I just think with the Kyler Murray, you add.
I love it.
Like, and I think it was for $8 million. It's so cheap.
Yeah,
I just think that's a great move.
And just security blankets on security blankets on security blankets for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think obviously that
and also the free AJ Green factor.
Oh my God,
the revenge of AJ Green.
As someone who has supported him and seen what he's had to deal with in Cincinnati, I mean, it's great to see him gone, and he gets to go to the warm weather and
apparently they're counting on Burrow being out the whole season because no AJ Green. John Ross to the fucking Giants, another deal. I mean, free me from the Giants at this point.
Yeah, good luck with the John Ross situation.
Yeah,
John Ross is now known. He's known more for Snoop was his childhood coach than anything.
Yeah, like he's known for his 40 time at the combine.
Yeah,
he made like the idea that he didn't get signed by the Raiders is ludicrous. Where are the Raiders now?
Yeah,
I'm a little more lukewarm on the Cardinals pickup. I mean, I'm really happy they picked up Matt Prater. I think that's a great signing. Big Matt Prater guy. Just kidding.
You know, with you, I don't know. I'm like, is he being serious?
Yeah, I mean, I like Zane Gonzalez too.
Little tug nug about teams with Matt Prater on their roster.
Yeah, exactly. It is a dome situation. He loves kicking in domes. He's proven there. Like they're going to lose Patrick Peterson. You know, there was a little bit loss of motivation. I feel like with Patrick Peterson over the last year, he's still figuring out where to sign.
They did lose him, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did he officially go somewhere?
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
Where did he go? I mean, there's been so many.
I thought he was focusing in on 3 teams as of last night. And the Cowboys.
He signed with Minnesota, 1 year, $10 million.
Minnesota.
So I like what Minnesota's doing defensively. Like Zimmer knows that he needs to get the that ship right. They made some other nice plays. The Cardinals, like am I sold on J.J. Watt at this age? Like I thought that was a curious signing. What does he think? Like the Cardinals are Super Bowl bound? I mean, the division's very tough. I
think that they're the reason I like AJ Green, the reason I like JJ Watt, the reason I like, and again, I'm not talking about the value of the actual production versus the money, but like you're a young team with a young quarterback on a rookie deal. You have a lot of young players that you're counting on. You're just adding vets that, you're going with the strategy of adding vets who want to win, who are, coach them up guys on the sideline. I don't know. It's like, you gotta, if you're going to compete, you have to compete before you give Kyler Murray $500 million. And, you're going to need veteran leadership to do that. And you're going to need, a resurgent JJ Watt for 1 year and a resurgent AJ Green for 2 years or whatever it is.
I mean, do we know AJ Green? I'm just curious on where they're going to put him position wise. Like Larry Fitzgerald owns the slot there. Andy Isabella can't get on the field. They have that the young kid who's like really, really fast. I mean, AJ's obviously can't play slot. Yeah. Can he win on the outside? Like, he
won't be double covered since he came into the league for the first time.
That's true, but he's been banged up the past few years. And like the last year, the Bengals had some weapons. I mean, Boyd is good. And the rookie from Clemson, was really good this year. In Cincinnati. So look, I'm interested. I hope there's a resurgence for AJ Green. I'm not quite as hot on it as you all are, especially like, it's also a very tough division. I mean, I think,
but if let's say he gets just 45 balls for 500 yards, like that's what they need him for, right? Like that's it. It's 500 yards, 40 plus catches. Isn't that what they need him for?
I mean, Curtis Samuel got 3 years for $13 million, and he's like 25. AJ Green got 1 for $8. I don't know what's guaranteed on that, but I mean, we'll see. I mean,
you gotta hope you're paying him $1 million a touchdown. that he's a big
think
target in the
think
red
that's right.
zone.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, Joe and I are out here on the West Coast. We get a lot of Arizona football games in the late games, so we'll have a chance to see if it pans
Hey,
out.
I know that I'm in Ohio, but I still have the NFL Sunday ticket.
You have a Sunday ticket in Cincinnati?
It doesn't mean I can't watch these games. Like out here, we get those West Coast games. You know what I really am missing is March Madness in Vegas. You know who's really missing it is
Gold Bear go.
Yeah. Do you miss March Madness Vegas? Yeah.
He called
you guys,
I drove out to Barstow. I drove out to the Chick-fil-A in Barstow just to remember what it felt like.
No, we would go to the Fat Burger. Maddie called me yesterday, and he's like, "I miss it so much, Ruther. We had so much fun on those trips."
I called up Jason. I was like, "How much to drive me to the Fat Burger in Riverside just to feel life again?"
Oh, absolutely amazing, guys. For
I
real
got
though,
the vaccine, and I asked the Fat Burger in Barstow if they'd let me eat inside.
can I give you two other free agent moves I really like?
Yeah.
One I want to say, did you guys see Michael Brockers from the Rams when Goff got traded?
Yeah.
He was like Stafford's a step up, and then he got traded to the Lions back to Goff.
Awkward.
Love it.
That was pretty great. I mean, I do like everyone was talking about what's happening with what's happening with the Chiefs and their offensive line. They did go out and sign Kyle Long, who had retired for a year and now has moved over to play with the thirsty Kansas City Chiefs. And they added another guy too that I thought for pretty big money. So I like to see that they're investing in that offensive line. Joe, is it Tooney?
Yeah,
5 for 80.
Well, they saw what happened in that Super Bowl.
Well, of course. But yeah, I mean, so I like those moves for that team.
And they get rid of the guys who are hurt. The two Fisher and Schwartz. Yeah. Those guys, great offensive linemen, getting paid their value. Also, nowhere to be found in the Super Bowl. So they're like, "Where were you when we needed you? Peace the fuck out."
Other picks that I think are interesting. I think again, Manny Sanders did go. Manny Sanders got 1 year for $6 million. It's interesting to see the sliding scale for wide receivers that are sort of in the vet situation. Very curious about, again, the Chargers. The Chargers have a rookie quarterback deal.
Yeah,
they have a Justin Herbert proved himself to be pretty good. Curious why we're not making they signed an offensive lineman and a center.
They just signed Cook just recently,
and Jared Cook.
Yeah, I like the Cook signing.
Well,
it's fine, but I agree with Tug. It's like you have a quarterback on a rookie deal who has already proven he is the guy for sure. You got to spend now around him before you are spending only on him.
I think and then Donald Parham is like a 6'8" tight end that everyone in the fantasy world is salivating over. So they're happy to see Hunter Henry go because they think this guy is the future of the tight end position in San Diego or LA. Sorry.
Hey, exactly. Don't you blasphemize. I still have I have season tickets, Tug. So don't you?
What's going on with that?
I renewed them.
Amazing.
And, I got to say, listen, the tight end, we all know how important the tight end is in the modern NFL offense. But I will say this, I don't think it's talked about enough. The tight ends, do the same thing we did for the running backs and Super Bowl winners. Besides Travis Kelce, which team that won Super Bowls had tight ends, Travis Kelce and Gronk, right? But even in those Gronk, we have injured Gronk, we have pre-Gronk Brady Super Bowls. But I almost feel like the tight end position, in a way, overvalued when it comes to winning as well. If you have an elite quarterback, he's going to turn your average tight end into a great tight end. And he's going to turn your great tight end into otherworldly, as we've certainly seen from, Gronk and Travis Kelce and et cetera.
I mean, two of the best all time, Manning and Brady, like utilized tight ends almost like no other. I mean, Dallas Clark was, probably, I'm not gonna say he's a jag, but
Right.
like he made him pretty special.
Yeah. I mean, with in the Giants with Eli's deal was give me some guy you've never heard of, and then I'll go get him a big deal somewhere else. Hey, Martellus Bennett, you want to get rich? Hey, Kevin Boss, you want to get rich? And I feel like a lot of the great quarterbacks have done that for guys.
The last thing I'll say is I'm just, I'm always curious about guys who have, the good year on their contract year. And are teams willing to like look at them as the alpha in their new team, or are they looking at them as like, let's keep them as a complement? The person I'm targeting is the New York Jets and Corey Davis. Corey Davis left the Titans. AJ Brown was sort of seen as the number one guy last year with Jonnu, Firkser, Derrick Henry. Now he goes to be the alpha in the Jets team, and I'm like, does that make sense?
No, guarantee he doesn't get the production they want.
Yeah, I agree. So maybe they have some. Obviously, the Jets are figuring things out, but I'm always curious to see teams how they like utilize teams coming off that big deal or that big year and be like, oh, we should make him our guy, or do we fit him into our system? So that's something that I was looking at. But I like what overall thoughts right now. I think Washington football team is making some moves. I like what Kansas City's done. I'm sure, Tom Brady will restructure his contract and to make things happen for him. I mean,
he already did.
Godwin's back on like a franchise tag, right? Like, so
Tampa's trying to bring the crew back. Like everything I'm seeing, as far as at least for one more year, as many of those guys as possible. They're really trying to do it again. I mean, if Brady wins,
I'm just going through Schefter. I'm trying to think of who are we forgetting. But
I mean,
so many damn moves.
Look, I have it on the rundown. I mean, it's just, you're right. There's just
Let me ask you a hypothetical really quickly, Joe. Galladay's in the mix of the Giants. Do you like the Galladay idea?
I don't hate it, but I don't love. Like, you look at Galladay's production, and it's another guy. Like I'm a bit of a Matt Stafford truther, so I think you're in that offense with Stafford. It might not translate into winning games, but it's going to translate into you catching a bunch of balls, catching a bunch of touchdowns. They go out and they get Ross, which I understand isn't like by any means. I think they're just kind of hopeful that he's something, but you get I like Galladay just on the prototypical sizable red zone target that you get Shepard in the slot.
We made USAA insurance for veterans.
Jesus
like
Christ! Hold on. What the?
When a hailstorm hit.
Sorry.
Didn't want to hear that.
You get Sterling Shepard, gets to move back to the slot, and you get a prototypical like big guy. But the problem, my only issue with it is the elite receiver number that it seems like he's demanding, and you look at it and you go, yeah, he had a 1,000-yard receiving season for 8 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns or whatever it was. It's like the resume isn't there where you're going year in and year out. He can be, your number one receiver, and maybe they're thinking he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to, like, he will play a role there. I mean, you go back to Plaxico Burress, like. I didn't love the Plaxico Burress signing, and I didn't love Plaxico Burress's production of riding the stationary bike for, 99.9% of the week, catching 3 balls, 1 for a touchdown. But in the end, he catches a fade pass in the Super Bowl. He caught multiple fades, for touchdowns in huge moments for the Giants. I think that's what they're hoping Galladay could be. I don't necessarily love it at the number, but I love it more than fucking John Ross and Mike Glennon. So sign somebody.
Who's the wide receiver that's really talented on the Giants that just doesn't get enough production?
Well, we have Sterling Shepard and then the
outside guy.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm fucking blanking on his name, and so is everybody.
But super talented and
really good. Just not a
Ingram.
No, he's really talented. Really athletic.
Darius Slayton.
Slayton, yeah. So if you
Yeah.
had like a Slayton Galladay combo
Yeah.
with Shepard in the slot and then Ingram, whatever, then it's like, and then Barkley, it's like Daniel Jones. Like if this ain't it, like this is not you. You know, you're not the guy.
And there's there's a lot of talk if he falls to them, Pitts from Florida being like added to the, so now he's just a weapons bonanza. But
Pitts is the highest graded tight end to ever come out of college.
Yeah.
People say of all the players coming out of this draft, he's the biggest lock to be a Hall of Famer. So very interested to see.
I love it. I kind of love all the options if he were there, whether it be moving Ingram for somebody, like using Ingram in a more of a receiver fashion. Like, I don't know, but like, because the Evan Ingram, like, you're a tight end, your job is to catch balls. If you can't catch balls, I don't know how long we can
what are we doing?
Continue to play this game.
Well, fellas, we've done a deep dive on football, March Madness. It's been about a couple hours, and
just a good catch up, Andy.
Yeah,
a good hang.
Yeah,
we'll have to leave PJ Tucker to the Bucks and my golf question for Tug for another day.
We got a lot to cover. We have tons of great calls for next week that I got sitting in the queue. We'll get to those. Tug, where can people follow you? Where can they help you babysit? What's going on?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tug Coker. And I have a question. I'll put it on Twitter as well. Guys, I'm in the market for a new TV. Haven't bought a TV in almost a decade, like 11 years.
I can help you here.
I'm in the market. So hit me up on Twitter and tell me if there's a TV out there that you love, that you just bought recently. I'm going to buy two. One for the main room, one for my own room. So hit me up, let me know.
Two TV purchase.
First time ever. Never had two TVs in the home, but I'm splurging. So let me know at Tug Coker what you think.
I'll tell you off the bat. I have I'm the recipient of my old man's, which is sitting in the basement. Joe's seen it. The Samsung QLED, pretty nice, man.
Samsung, they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. Like you get a surround sound on this thing. I'm like, whoa. Am I on the set of Shameless? That's how I feel. I've been binging it. I'm like, whoa. Am I doing drugs with Frank? No, this is
a shameless Samsung plug right there.
I know, seriously.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Dirty Sports.
I just want to say, hey guys, always great catching up. Thanks for having me on. It's good to see Joe in person last week. Andy, I'll see you in person next month. But stay tuned for Joe and I's Masters preview.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I have a big golf query for you. We'll get that out on the Masters preview. I can't wait. Now I can't wait. Now you're gonna make me watch more golf. We were talking about how you're like, I like you getting into golf. I'm like, I'm still not, but now I'm gonna dive in head first.
Well, watch it because then we can really bet on some players. We'll give our top 10 selections of players that we love to win.
That's what I'm all about. Gambling. I gamble on one golfer a weekend at this point, just so I can be like locked in.
It's a lottery pick. It's hard to pick a golf winner. That's probably the hardest thing to do in golf betting, I think, or in sports betting.
At Joe Prano on Instagram, at Fix Your Life on Twitter, at Joe Prano on everything else. And rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Tug, I put up on TikTok the other day a video of when I was waiting for you guys to arrive at Rancho. This guy hit 1 million. Like, it took him 10 full minutes to hit each golf ball, and I put a video of it up on TikTok. Little check that out. You'll love how long it takes this guy to hit one driver on the driving range.
Okay, I'll look for it.
All right, guys. Tug, always great having you on.
Yeah,
appreciate the cameo and look forward to seeing you in person next month. Guys, enjoy March.
Go Houston.
Yeah.
That's me. That's what I'm rolling with. Come on, Houston. Come on,
Cougs. The Cougs.
Yeah.
So enjoy March Madness, everybody. Have a safe weekend. We'll be back Monday. And don't forget,